What do you think is the biggest mistake people make in relationships? I think it's a combination of getting so comfortable with somebody that you take things for granted, stop doing the little things and stop communicating, waiting until you're too far in to discuss marriage and kids. That's an issue that needs to be hammered at before you completely shut yourself off from anyone else. Not dating their partner after getting married, having kids. Not communicating. Not being on the same page when it comes to finances, household responsibilities, boundaries with external family. Not prioritizing their partner, thinking that it's one person's work. A successful relationship needs commitment and work from both parties. Compromising when they started the relationship and then regret sets in and destroys the relationship. Not being able to apologize. If someone tells you they're upset with you, you don't need to argue back. Been dating my wife for 30 years. Married 28. I think many forget you have to never stop dating. If you stop dating each other, that is when you start taking your partner for granted, and then all of the other problems people are bringing up start. I will be dating my wife until I die. Not leaving, ending a relationship when it needs to be ended. Sometimes the best thing to do is to walk away. People say a lack of communication, but sometimes it's over communication, talking about your ex constantly or what people you find really attractive or criticism to your partner that is not meant to be constructive harms the relationship. Too much honesty about unnecessary things is bad. I think these days everyone is being conditioned to be a narcissist, so if a relationship does happen, it's important to remember that it's not all about you, and to remember it's a partnership, not just a project for you to blast all over social media. Be mindful of the very real person you are with. They have feelings, hopes, interests, etc., too. They aren't just a prop, going into it with expectations. It keeps you from seeing incompatibilities after the initial affection has calmed down. People usually get too accustomed to the presence of their lovers' spouses that they forget they are living human beings too, and you have to entertain them from time to time, and have an emotional communication with them. Russian women often say that they feel themselves like women with French men, while Russian ones make them feel like draft horses. Ego and defensiveness. Not being aware of their own flaws, refusing to be accountable for crappy behavior. Always having to be right. Try and find their ideal partner that they created in their mind. Your 10-10 traditional wife and your reality TV rom-com perfect husband don't exist. Be realistic and flexible, trying to win arguments. The goal should be to solve disagreements as a team, not come out as the victor. Communication. Too comfortable after 4 years. I keep asking questions and complimenting him etc. and get nothing in return. Sometimes no acknowledgement I spoke. Actually too many times. I want to know everything about him. He won't reciprocate anymore. He used to, expecting their partner to be everything at times. The perfect sexual partner, emotional support, playmate, gift giver, doer of chores, fixer of things, chef, and anything else you can think of. No person can be all of those things. Not understanding it needs to be continuously re-upped. The number of Tiffy posts around either my relationship quietly fell apart and I just noticed, or I did something spectacularly stupid and now I'm single divorced. Not understanding what they're getting into. For example, I used to have a GF that would be unsure of herself in so many situations to where it seemed as if she never wanted to be in a relationship to begin with, which just led to both of us experiencing pain that wasn't needed. Letting each other be their own person, then being a team. This ties heavily into communication, and also brings a deeper understanding of each other. Why would you want to control and turn the person you love into something else? No communication once you get comfortable. People are human beings, which means people change. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes it's neutral. But if it's a change to the normalcy of your relationship or lifestyle in any way, just let them know. Talk for God's sakes. Not yelling or talking over each other, but genuine talking. Not building a solid base to their relationship through communication and common interests to fall back on when the initial obsession with one another begins to fade. Thinking that you need to spend every minute of the day with each other. Give each other space, have your own friends. This applies to family too. See your family both with and without your partner. Ignoring somebody, not spend enough time with one another, not paying enough attention to each other, or putting friends in priority, putting friends above the one you're supposed to be with. Not learning how to truly communicate early in their relationship. Not just when angry either, you must be able to communicate all levels of emotions. Also, beginning to take the other for granted. They stop doing the little things that mattered in the early stages, expecting that people won't change just for them. Over time, everybody changes, but not always in expected ways and certainly not to meet the expectations of others. Lack of genuine communication and not taking the time to understand the way your loved one communicates, perceives and processes information and emotions. Falling for who you think they are and not being able to see the reality and hoping that they are willing to be who you want them to be, only to realize it too late. Focusing on the negatives and flaws in someone. Perception is everything. Your perception of your partner is the biggest factor in how good the relationship is. Thinking that a relationship will make you happy and believing that they have fallen out of the love once the honeymoon phase is over. Showing weakness as a man. They can lose respect for you in an instant and the relationship will never be the same. Not truly designing the relationship to serve the two people involved but going by societal defaults, expectations and assumptions instead, leading to disappointment, frustration and resentment. Oversharing. You all don't need to let each other know about every little you've done. Don't care about your exes. Focus on the now and the person standing in front of you. Listen to stories, etc. Communication and patience is key. But fucking respect each other. Use common sense. Thinking that attraction to other people will just magically disappear when in a relationship. Thinking jealousy is anything but lizard brain possessiveness. Trying to race ahead to the next level instead of enjoying each stage of the relationship. It seems like expecting anything from your partner is toxic, whether you ask for it or not. Rely on someone outside the relationship and keep the love alive. You obviously can love someone who wants something from you. Elevating sex to anything of importance to the point where one or both or all regard it as a need and not a want as it actually is. If sex is your love and new language, expecting your partner to heal your trauma and carry your baggage when it's your responsibility to shoulder that burden, process it and deal with it. Especially if it requires therapy. No, weed is not an acceptable means to healing or dealing with trauma. Dealing with trauma is an acceptable means to dealing with it. Yes, I am so mad at my ex for this. Good riddance. Falling into normalcy. Always do something nice for your partner. Go out on a date once a week. Plan something with them. A stagnant bond is a dead bond. Complacency and tied to it, not adjusting as you and your partner both change as people as time goes on. You first need to be comfortable being alone, having your own hobbies, friend circle, etc. before you get into a relationship. Not forgiving when your partner is truly sorry and working to change and forgiving them when they are not, thinking they can change the other person. It's possible that you can improve some behaviors, and people will naturally mature with age. But you can't fundamentally change someone, assuming that you don't have to change for nobody. Healthy relationships learn to compromise, and with that you both change. Not taking the proper time to get to know each other before getting married and having unprotected sex. Both scenarios get millions of people stuck with commitments they don't want, and most end up abandoning their children and divorcing. Giving your everything when the other person is not even 25 invested in you and you end up losing everything to the point that you have to hit the restart button just to live. Lack of communication. Not being best friends. Petty actions to get back at your partner over something they're not aware they did wrong. Going in too young. First relationship at 21 and it was a disaster. Second serious relationship at 25. Everything was great until I got out of college and we moved and all we did was fight and have sex. Sometimes at the same time. 4 months later I was single. You need time to yourself, time to grow up without mom and dad around. Lack of communication is really broad and hard for people to implement communication. Address issues early with a problem-solving mindset. Sitting on things builds resentment. Establish clear boundaries. Respect your partner's boundaries. Disrespecting boundaries degrades trust. Improper communication, refusal to compromise, forcing your personal preferences onto others, and being unwilling to listen, are the biggest mistakes. Neglecting the friendship and not keeping up with the relationship. I had an image of happiness in my mind that wasn't the reality. Eventually the rose-colored glasses slipped and I saw how badly it had deteriorated. Trying to change the other person. Communication is up there. But going into a relationship and then trying to change that person for your preference, a recipe for disaster. Expecting perfection. At least where I'm at, a lot of people break up over the smallest issues and feel that any issues means the relationship won't work. They don't understand that no relationship is perfect and that compromised communication are important. They just wait around for a storybook prince/princess to just come by and do their bidding. It's really sad to see. Getting into them knowing deep down you're not ready, then when you realize it, you stay instead of leaving. Probably murder. But one of the biggest is letting sex deteriorate. There are 1,000 reasons to let it fade. But it's a million times harder to build it back than to let it go, treating the other person like they're your property and belong to you. As opposed to someone choosing to share life with you by their own daily free will. My ex-husband said he thought since we were married, he didn't need to try anymore. And he didn't, at all. Shower. Pick up after himself. Be kind. So let's keep trying, daily, to be a good partner. Lack of consideration. My wife lacked this in the early parts of our marriage. I was expected to endure a lot of shit. In the end I didn't. Her seeing me break was her catalyst to understand I was hurting. She has only been apologetic, loving and comforting since. I've forgiven her. But I'm not stupid enough to forget ordering sushi with the fish eggs in it cause you didn't recognize the name of the eggs. It causes a scene in the restaurant and a bad time afterwards. Don't make the same mistake I did, not being willing to compromise equally on topics, things, procedures, expectations, you name it, because they'd rather feel right, or rather win. Not accepting your partner exactly as they are. Either hoping they will change or trying to change them. Not being honest with your own feelings and sharing them more deeply, knowing they are not ready for a relationship. Lack of communication. If you don't talk about it, resentment builds. If you decide to play games instead of talking it out, resentment builds. As Esther Perel said, it's like stacking a sink full of dirty dishes. It will all come crashing down eventually if the pile gets too high. Entering into a relationship just because that's what society expects them to do, and not because that's what they want. Not everyone is the relationship type, and there's nothing wrong with staying single.